So if you guys are noticing, there is a new person in the seat here with me. Who in the heck could this be? Well, I'll let you on a little secret. This is my son Jordan, and he has an affinity, a passion, a drive for sports. So take it away, Jordan. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Jordan Van Dever. I am a senior at my high school. I have had an interest in sports for a lot of years now. I watch sports on a daily basis. My favorite teams are including Dallas Cowboys, college, root for Kansas Jayhawks, Notre Dame.
You got any teams in the NBA you like?
I'm rooting for the Lakers right now.
Oh, that's unfortunate. See, this is what the audience doesn't really know is I was a Lakers fan when Kobe was just killing it. I mean, who didn't love Kobe? But once Lakers and they ended up signing LeBron, like, I don't know, I was out. So I decided to go to my local team. And as many of you fans of this page know, it is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And they are just going to be taking it down. But this is my son Jordan, and I hope you enjoy what is coming to you. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Hot Zone Sports, a page that is built for you. The information that you need to know, built with you in mind, for the people, by the people, and with the people. Join the Hot Zone Sports community. We are on every social you can think of. So follow your boy. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Today we had Ole Miss and Georgia, the banger. We had the Hog Mileys up against each other. It was a wild game, and we are going to get right into it and give you all the information that you need to know. So, Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart was injured on the first drive of the game after his interception to Florida. Ironically enough, it was the only interception he threw all game. After that, he went to the locker room, and we did not know what was going to happen. You could see in the first drive that Trey Hare's absence was being felt. Lane Kiffin has called him the best wide receiver in America. You were out with your top wide receiver. You're out with your top running back. So they had an uphill climb to begin with. But they had a good recovery. Ole Miss scored after the Bulldogs, and Austin Simmons, the backup, came into the game, and he had a spectacular showing, going 5 for 6 for 64 yards, and running back Ulysses Bentley capped off the drive with a 9-yard run. What would you say was probably most important on that drive, Jordan?
Well, I would say that the most important thing on that drive would be the pass completions, the pass protection. On the other side, Georgia had no pass protection. They couldn't get down the field. But Ole Miss had pass protection. They were able to get down the field without, like you said, their star wide receiver, Trey Harris. That absence means a lot to that team, especially when you don't got a lot of targets like Trey Harris out there. But I think it has to be the completed passes.
So the big thing coming into this game was Ole Miss's offensive line, and they obviously proved that they could protect their quarterback, except Jackson Dart getting injured for the short amount of time. He went to the locker room and he came back with a heavily taped left ankle. Now, if there's one thing that I know is when you come back with a heavily taped ankle, whether it's your plant foot or your transition foot, especially when you have a mobile quarterback, there are going to be some issues that come into play, whether it be his progressions, his taken off and his scrambling ability, since he's a mobile quarterback. But we didn't really see that much of a struggle when it came to his mobility. If anything, if his ankle was hurting today, he might have had a cortisone shot. Just throwing that out there. We don't know that for certain. But to end the first half, they had 16 unanswered points from Ole Miss. And they were leading the Bulldogs 16-7 at half. And when you know it, there was another instance where there was an issue on the field. This time in the name of a squirrel, who obviously was terrorizing Bulldogs all over the sidelines. There was a video of it where you saw them jumping, being scared. It was pretty rough. What's your take on that?
Well, it certainly affected their ability to get down the field. Rushing attack couldn't get going. They couldn't protect their quarterback. Their quarterback is agile. He can throw the ball, but when you have no pass protection, you can't really do none of that. But this squirrel definitely affected them. Looked like they were scared for the rest of the game.
Yeah, you saw them jumping all around when they were sitting on the bench, jumping around. They were definitely terrified of that squirrel. And maybe that squirrel was a leftover remnant of Peanut the squirrel. I'm sure you've all seen the videos on TikTok. I will not talk about that any further. But Georgia's offense was definitely stuck in the mud. It has been most of the season, and this is nothing new. This is not the dominant version of the Georgia Bulldogs that you have seen in years past, preferably last season, where their quarterback, Carson Beck, was just throwing it up and was just terrorizing other teams. We also knew coming into this game that Ole Miss were pretty explosive, and they had explosive plays all over the field. I mean, there was a couple of stats going through the game. In the first half, they had 8 plays of 10-plus yards. Like, I don't think they were missing Trey Harris. What's crazy is if Trey Harris would have been in this game wouldn't even been close. And it wasn't even close. Maybe they could have thrown up 40. What do you think? Could they have done something like that?
I think they could. Without their weapon Trey Harris, they seemed to get along very swiftly. They weren't as bad as Georgia on the offensive side of the ball. But yeah.
Carson Beck, coming into this game, was the number 1 ranked quarterback in the preseason. And we all know what we have to say about preseason rankings. They're crap. And currently, Mel Kiper has him ranked as a number 6 ranked quarterback. This was before the game. And he has him ranked as a 3rd round grade. Now, what I will say about that is he has dimensions. Okay, he is 6'4". He is about 220, 230. But one thing that scouts are not going to like, and this goes with any quarterback, when he is blitzed, when he is pressured, he does not know what to do with the ball. And now that he doesn't have the star talent at wide receiver, they have a really young team, and you don't have Brock Bowers sitting back there to be able to be your safety outlet. We have seen Carson Beck come back to reality. So the last 3 games, Carson Beck has thrown 8 interceptions. And at the start of the second half, Georgia actually had something going for them. They had 10-plus yards plays in their first drive. You know, they had 4 10-plus drives. Motherfucker. They had 4 10-plus plays in their first drive. In the first half, they had 3 of those 10-plus plays. Now, on that drive, they came away with a field goal. which obviously looking back on it really wasn't what they wanted or what they needed. What do you have to say, Jordan?
Well, at that time, they really did have something going, which they really needed 7 points there. 3 points didn't help them down the stretch when they needed two touchdowns at the end of the game to at least tie it up. But they really needed that touchdown. 3 points did not help them at all.
Now, midway through the third quarter, you could see easily, even with non-football eyes, that Ole Miss had way too many weapons, even without the absence of their top wide receiver. I will beat that dead horse every single time because with this defense, this shouldn't have happened. The explosive plays coming into this game, it was a story that was going across the entire nation. Was Georgia going to be able to stop them? And everybody thought that Georgia was going to be able to stop them because if there's one thing Georgia's been known for is a very good defensive team. This game, you were not going to be leaning on this defense. Carson Beck was going to actually have to show up and do some work. And when they were down 22-10, they started to do some work. You had an 8-minute drive. You had a 4th and 10, and then a ball that was tipped to the line and ended up being an interception for Ole Miss cornerback John Saunders Jr. At some point in every game, Carson Beck is always going to throw a wild errant pass. Granted, it was tipped at the line, but the problem still remains. So, in 2023, Ole Miss allowed 611 yards of total offense. This was a different game this year. They allowed 233 yards against Georgia. Ole Miss has never beaten a top-ranked team, an AP top 2 team. But this season, they were able to do so. Why do you think they were able to do that so well, Jordan?
I think they were able to do it so well because they could get to the quarterback on the defensive side. They disrupted passes very well. They didn't allow any of Carson Beck's receivers to get any space. And on the offensive side, their receivers got open very well. The drop back passes, that really affected the defense. That's where all the 20-plus yard receptions came from. That got them down the field. So that really affected them past the whole game. That's why they were allowed to dissect the defense.
Yeah, you have to wonder the ramifications that is going to come from this game. So I've been saying all season long that there's not going to be a team that has 3 losses that makes it to the college football playoff. You would basically have to have a loss against Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas and lose by 1. But that's not going to happen in this scenario. There are way too many other teams like Miami, even though they lost today. You got SMU, the only undefeated team left in the ACC. You got teams like that. And then you have BYU from the Big 12, who is still undefeated. But there's a game going on tonight with LSU, and this has really, it's going to have a lot of effects on the college football playoff. If LSU wins, then I expect them to start climbing those ranks. And to close out the season, you aren't exactly going to have a lot of difficulty. I know they got Arkansas. They could actually run the table and make things very interesting. I mean, if you really look at LSU's schedule, you got Alabama tonight. You got Florida, who is on their 3rd-string quarterback. You got Vanderbilt, who's up and coming, but they're not at that type of elite level. And then you finish the season with Oklahoma. Like, they can obviously make it into the college football playoff if they were to run the table, because overall they are 6-2. But there's going to be some interesting talks this week when it comes to the SEC, because it is between the Big 12 and the SEC. I don't know which conference has a bigger mess. What say you, Jordan?
Well, there's definitely some struggles in that conference. There's a few teams with 2 losses, some with only 1 loss, but there's still struggles with them playing unranked teams and losing, with them underperforming. But it could be a big fight between the top teams in that conference.
I mean, if you really look at it, if LSU loses tonight, they will end up being 3-2 in the conference and 7-3 overall. All right, that takes them out of the college football playoff talk. If Alabama wins, they will be 7-2 overall and 4-2 in the conference, and they close out the season with Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn. Those are 3 highly winnable games. So they could end up running the table. And, they're ranked in 11th in the country right now. Like, this is just going to be absolutely wild. So stay tuned. We're going to be posting more stuff like this. And I want to give a big shout out to my boy, Jordan. Thank you for coming on here with me. It has been an absolute blast. I just want everybody to know that he is massively into sports, so expect him to come on Hot Zone Sports from time to time. And I know all these ladies out here need to chill out a little bit, because Jordan's only 17, guys. Just throwing that out there. All right, so that is going to be it for Hot Zone Sports. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and you guys have an amazing Sunday of football. And peace out.